Welcome back to Steve Raub Reviews. Today's review is going to be all about what's the best palm sander or orbital sander, round disc sander, the one that you have the 5-inch pads that are Velcro you can just snap on. And well, which one is the best to buy? Well, I'm saying this one here that I picked up is one of the best to buy. There's many out there, but today we're going to talk about electrical testing, and we're going to talk about features, and we're going to talk about the things that a lot of people, well, when they're thinking about getting an orbital sander, what do you need? How many amps should a sander be? Because you'll see a lot of amperage ratings. And the features. You got this little dust cap on the back. Well, some of them are just, well, they're crap. They just fall off. They're not meant to stay on. There's so much vibration. They're completely useless, right? But they got a great price. So do you shop by price? Well, I don't shop by price. I shop by functionality. I do my research. I look at the specifications. Specifications are so important. And they have to make sense. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with a manufacturer here that, well, just doesn't quite get the idea of specifications and how... Well, they must think at this day and age that people are not educated enough to realize if things don't, well, if they don't make sense, well, I'm not buying your product. But let's get into this here first, and let's first talk about some electrical testing and how many amps do you need for a little sander? Small little palm sander, how much do you need, right? Whether it's cordless, corded, doesn't really matter, but the one that I picked up was $40, and it's a corded unit made by Skil. And for me, I thought that is the best one of all the different manufacturers out there to suit my needs. Because you know what? The average homeowner using an average homeowner power tool, guess how much time the average homeowner actually, well, uses a power tool a year? On average, 2 hours. So, you know, I bought this for 40 bucks. It was on sale. Now, at the same time, there was all the other big brand names that are all fantastic too. And all their specifications on their website are top notch. But they were twice the price. And I thought, for me using this for 2 hours out of a year, well, you know what? This is the best sander as far as I'm concerned. It's a big brand name, and it's got the features that a lot of other sanders don't have that I like. So let's go over here, let's go to the workbench, let's take a look. Well, these are the sanders that I actually own, and the new one is right there. I haven't used it yet, but we're going to test it out. And you can see the type of hook and loop or Velcro sandpaper that goes to it. Now, I bought a box of 100 for just under $20, so that's going to last me a lifetime. So, we take a look at the three that I already own. And I will tell you something. This one here is about 8 years old. This is about 30 years old. And this is about 30 years old. And I can remember at the time these were on sale. These two here, about $15 each. Well, you're not going to buy nothing for $15 today. And I was surprised that I got this on a smoking deal on Amazon for $40 on sale. So this one here. Now that one there, I believe is around 7 amps. What's the amperage here? I'll try to turn you around a bit here. Boy, it's hard to get the light in there. As you can just see down here, it's the amperage on this is 7.8 amps. And 7 amps in a power tool is pretty smoking, like, that's almost 8 amps. We're talking like a circular saw type of torque. This one here is just made by Mastercraft, and it's an oldie but a goodie. And let's just take a look at the amperage on this. And this is 2 amps. A lot of people would say, well, is that enough, 2 amps? 2 amps is smoking good enough. And look at this small little one, a smaller sander. And this is like another offshoot brand from God knows where. And this one here is 1.3 amps. So what's this one? This one is 2.8 amps. And it's got some features on it that I didn't see any of the other manufacturers have. Like, you got this little, I guess, dust vacuum system that goes through here and puts your dust into here. And I never tried it yet. You can see it's all brand new, never even turned it on. And there's the box it came in. Now we're going to have a little bit of fun with this, because that's the box it came in. And take a look at the size there. It's about 8 inches by about 11 inches long, and that matters because we're going to have some fun with another manufacturer here in a minute. So we're going to take a look at this first, and then we're going to do some electrical testing. I'm going to plug this one in, this one in, this one in, and see how many watts it actually is. Because 1 amp is 120 at 120 volts is going to give you, well, around over 120 watts. This one here is going to give you double that, over 200, and I'm thinking this one here is going to be over 300 watts. And all these wattage ratings mean something. It's mostly only for startup, not running. So we're going to take a look at that. But overall, let's just take a look at this one here first and see why I bought this one, the Skil, rather than all the other manufacturers that were out there that had twice the price. The first thing that I investigated when I was looking around to get one of these small little palm sanders, and is I didn't want to get cordless, because you know what? For the amount of times that I'm going to use it, I don't want to invest in the cordless system. And it's twice the price or more, 3 times the price in a lot of the big brand names. But I wanted to look at the dust extraction here. And if you take a look right down here, you could see how this is actually, well, it's held on in a way that you turn it down to the bottom here and you pull the whole thing right off, or it's slotted so you can push it in and you can extract. Also, the best feature I found was, I'm never going to take it off there. I would just take this off and then dump it and then put this back on, right? I mean, it's one of these things where it's convenience, right? This here is not going to fall off. A lot of the other ones I looked at, and there were so many reviews and complaints about, it's just like a friction fit. This is not. I mean, man, I'm going to have to pull. To get this thing back off is unbelievable, but I'm going to do it only because, well, you got to see how this is going to go on. Okay, so you can see how far I've gotten, and there's an O-ring in there, and man, I'll tell you, there it is, and it looks like the O-ring came with it. So I'll put the O-ring back on, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of silicone lube on there and then put it back on. And never take this thing back off again, except now I can just use the little clips, right? Take it off from there. So I think this is far superior than a lot of the other dust extraction things that I've seen out there before. And so I'm going to put this back on, and then we're going to do some electrical testing. Now this here has 6 speeds. So I'm going to leave it at the highest setting, and it goes all the way down from 1 to 6. And that will vary your amperage, but tell you the truth, I'll probably always leave it on 6 and leave it there. So let's do some electrical testing on the other ones, and let's see if the specification on this is actually real, because I'm hoping for more than 300 watts to be realistic. And then we're going to have some fun with the manufacturer that I passed on, that, well, their specs were actually unbelievable. Well, let's start testing, and this is the 2 amp one. So you're going to have an inrush of current first, and so let's just turn it on and see what happens. Okay, so I seen like around 278 watts, and for inrush, and this is pretty well close. I mean, for the amount of age it has on it, I would say this passes with flying colors. 2 amps is plenty. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this one here is 1.3 amps. Let's take a look and see what it does. 135, then around 118, and that's right in the ballpark. Total pass. I mean, especially for something that's 30 years old. Let's go on to the skill. So I have it at the highest setting, which is going to be its max amperage. So I mean, for the amperage that they're calling for here, I'm expecting over 300 watts, brand new out of the box. And then it'll drop down after like the rest. So let's just take a look. I got it on number 6. So around 278 after it starts slowing down, after it's been fired up. And let's take a look at the inrush again. 432. So that is well within the specs, and I'm satisfied with that. And you know what? For that little bit of test sanding I did, look at this. So the vacuum system on this sure does seem to work. I mean, I only pulled the trigger for a little bit, right? I mean, I don't know if you could see what's in the bottom there, but yeah, it goes in there just fine. Okay, so let's have fun with a manufacturer that I passed on. And this one here was called Deco. You see up at the top here, let me just get a pencil. 2.5 amps electric. Okay. Then I go on to the next spot. Well, item dimensions. 10 by 10 by 10 centimeters. And you know, for a 5-inch sanding pad, 10 by 10 by 10 centimeters just didn't make any sense. And they're still saying 2.5 amps. And we go on to the next part of their specifications, and they're saying it weighs 1.6 kilograms, and the product dimensions 10 by 10 centimeters. And you know, that kind of just throws you for a loop right off the bat there. And then I took a look and I see, oh, new model, view new model. So I thought, okay, so this one here is 2.5 amps. Let's take a look at the new model. So I take a look at the new model. It doesn't mention the amperage up here. So I go down on the screen a bit. Oh, 6 amps. Now I will tell you something. I sent 2 emails to the company and I asked 2 questions. How long is a power cord? They said it's 5 meters. So that's like 16 feet. Almost 16 and a half feet long. I've never seen a 16 and a half foot cord. The cord on this skill is 6 foot. Then it says 6 amps. So I said, are you saying this is 6 amps? Because 6 amps is about 720 watts. Is it 6 amps? Never heard no reply back at all. So that is the 6 amp one. And they're saying it weighs 530 grams. Well, that's a far cry from what the the smaller version weighs, right? So, and I mean, parcel dimensions, 5 by 5 by 3 centimeters, 530 grams. Now you see how when you're looking at the specifications on something, if they just don't make sense, if there's no logic in it at all, why are you going to buy their product? And then I get down to here. 320 watts at 6 amps? I don't think so. That just doesn't make any logic at all. So, I mean, this manufacturer here has to get its specs up to par and realize that the consumers are not all stupid. A lot of people are going to look at 6 amps and say 320 watts just doesn't make sense. So here's the one that I bought. And I'll tell you something. I think it's a good unit. It's not the best. This is for do-it-yourselfers. Lucky if you're going to use this for 2 hours out of a year. And this will last me probably the rest of my lifetime. And the best thing was this part right here. And it works. So let's take a look at the skill specs. 20 by 12 by 14 centimeters. That's the item dimensions. That makes more sense. You know, that is the size of the box. And they're talking about voltage amperage, 2.8 amps, yeah, it makes sense. So that's why I bought this one, and this is why when you're shopping around and you're looking for a product online, especially on Amazon, if the specs don't make any sense, if everything is illogical, why should you buy the product? In all my years of electrical testing all kinds of different type of power tools, for me to believe that you could get one of these in 6 amps, well, I've never seen it. If they would have, well, I give them 2 weeks to reply back, right? If they would have told me it was 6 amps, I would have bought it, brought it here and tested it, because 6 amps would have been like probably the most powerful palm sander you could possibly buy. But realistically, 2 to 3 amps is plenty for a small little sander like this. I mean, you're not using it in an industrial setting, and for most homeowners, more than enough amperage. The wattage checked out right to me. It was within the specs that I was expecting to see. But 6 amps, I think there's a lot of spelling mistakes, misprints on specifications on so many items that you see, when you're checking out an item, especially on Amazon, with all these third-party sellers and brands you never heard about before. We're inundated with all these brands you never heard before. They're sold not at retail stores. A lot of these are not sold in your regular retail store. I think the one there, JobMate, I think that was from Walmart or Canadian Tire, and the other one was Canadian Tire. So I mean, the store that you're buying stuff from, they kind of want to get everything on the legit side. Like they'll open up the manual and they'll see if it makes sense, and they'll see if the specs are correct, and this kind of stuff. But when you're buying stuff online, be very careful at looking at the specs. Ask somebody else, whether it makes sense or not. Because when you got one item that says, it weighs 1.6 kilograms, and next thing you know, they're saying that the bigger item weighs 530 grams. I mean, you're going, okay, like this just doesn't make sense at all. Should I just buy because the price is great? Or, it might be a great item. It may work fantastic and be great. I mean, I have no idea. But when I start looking at specs and I see they don't make sense, don't expect me to buy your stuff that don't make sense. Thanks for joining me here today. Come back again. I think the Skil is the best value for the money. The features that it has, the dust collector actually works. And I'm saying that's the best palm sander you could buy, the 5-inch. And if you're just wondering what grit I picked, I could pick all kinds of different grits. I picked 80. For me, that's the most common one that I would use. And I got 100 for under 20 bucks. Can't go wrong with that, right? So thanks for joining me here today. Come back again. If you've never seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe and see some interesting things you just might not see somewhere else. Cheers.